Welcome to episode 18 of Rogue Mode 0 to 40 in Flight of Nova. We are at Rogue Mode grade 25, and we will be continuing out at Sullen Station in the EX5. So, Sullen Station is my favorite station, but actually it's a little bit short of mission diversity. There aren't that many Sullen missions. It's kind of a little station. Maybe you can make it out there. It's a great station for visuals and lore conversation and all of that kind of stuff. But in the end, let me see if there's any space stations nearby. Cohagen is nearby. I would need a freighter for that mission. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna accept this 9 minutes away mission. So, I gotta just undock and redock. But actually, Sullen Station is a little bit of an unserviced station at this point. I mean, it's all fair, seeing as, technically speaking, being so small, a lot of the missions wouldn't even be available here anyways. I mean, what are you gonna take stuff from one dock port to the other? I mean, maybe it is a realistic mission with such a small space object. What might be the most realistic is to expect that there are no ways to get from one box to the other without disconnecting and reconnecting. So in that case, it would make sense to go from one side of this tiny space station to the other. Broom Larson. $675, 82. We're going the wrong direction. Alright, so we're up at 1,000 kilometers altitude. And at 750, we wanted to be 4,500 kilometers out. So I guess I'm gonna add. We'll try to be 5,000 kilometers out and try to do the same thing. And so what we'll do is we'll depart from Sullen at about 5,000 kilometers away from our destination. And we'll burn for a minus 15. That's gonna take a long time. It's gonna be a long mission. Let's just see what happens. Maybe I'm gonna, because I know that it's gonna track down, I'm gonna go for a minus 17. gonna go for minus 17 FPA, and then hopefully I'll be able to level off at that same 53 kilometers as normal. So this time skip takes longer when you're higher altitude because you're actually, it doesn't take longer, but you are going much farther. 7, 6, 5, 4. There goes Sullen. Alright, say goodbye to Sullen. There goes our destination. So we're already at a minus 10 FPA, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Well, we went for an 18, so we'll see what an 18 does. And then we're gonna try to level off. I think we're going down too fast, but we'll see what happens. So in this boat at minus 18, we'd be leveling off at about 120. It would still make it just fine. I'm gonna have to watch my kilometers out. I might want to come in a little shallower. If we stay higher altitude, then we slow down less. So if I undershoot and I'm coming in too early and I have farther to travel by the time I'm down at my desired braking altitude, then I want to stay a little higher up, because then I'll brake more slowly. If I'm late, then I want to go deeper into the atmosphere and slow down more quickly. And this particular ship is a very high performance ship, which means that it can get really hot and you'll still be able to land. I mean, you can crash into the dang planet and the ship will survive. So we can get as hot as we need to. But we're already down at 750 and we're at 3,700 kilometers out. I think we're gonna be early, so we're gonna want to level off early so that we stay higher altitude, so that for the final leg of the trip we don't slow down too much. I got myself a beefy steak out of the bag. I stocked up on beef jerkies. So we're below 600 kilometers altitude now, and we are at about 3,000 kilometers to our destination. We want to be at 55 kilometers altitude, 1,000 kilometers distance to destination. So if I get down to about 140 kilometers altitude and I'm still more than 2,000 kilometers away from the destination, then I need to stay way up at like 80 kilometers altitude. So right around 2,400 kilometers distance to target. That's the disembarkation time, the re-entry window if you're leaving from a normal 188 station. And I call it a normal 188 station because a 188 station is like the most ideal re-entry basically. And there's most of the missions are to those altitude of stations. Because of orbit, because of orbital mechanics, because of how significant gravity matters over time, if you need to perform a maneuver like re-entering the atmosphere, you want to re-enter the atmosphere from just right outside of the atmosphere. You want to be as low altitude of a stable circular orbit as possible and then just re-enter from there. If you're going to try to re-enter from a very high altitude, thousands of kilometers altitude, then what's going to happen is your margin of error is going to be absolutely tiny because of the magnitude of difference it will make at that distance. So the acceleration of gravity is going to be going on the whole entire time. All right. So we are 1,400 kilometers. So I'm going to try to stay kind of higher up. Matter of fact, I'm going to burn it all the way off to a 0. And then we're going to go for a drop. A bit of a swan dive. So because I have so much velocity to shed right now, and such a short distance to do it, I want to stay at a fairly low altitude, like as low as possible without overheating, because that'll give me the best braking performance. See, so I'm only 300 kilometers from the target at this point, but now I'm still moving at 6,000 meters per second. That's really fast. So I'm going to cover that 200 kilometers remaining very quickly. And I'm probably going to overshoot at this point. But I'll try to dive down here, increase my friction. So this ship can get so hot, I could probably dive right down to that target right now and make it. Well, I mean, I won't make the distance, but if I dive at it, probably wouldn't overheat and burn up. So just a small mission, only 3-bar mission, probably can't get too much experience out of that. 950, so that's nothing. I'm not even gonna get to 26. So this is a 5-bar difficulty. All we gotta do is fly 6,700 kilometers at high altitude, and then in 2.5 hours, which is perfectly doable, and then we'll get the 5-bar mission. So we're gonna do that. So I'm not too far away, only 6,712 kilometers. Actually, that's pretty far. So we're going to want to maintain some degree of climb here. We're going to want to get up to around 60 kilometers altitude ultimately. And then we're going to want to kind of hang out between 60 and 80. get up to about 10 kilometers per second. And I'm going to say that's probably the ideal flight. So we're up at 36 kilometers, so I'm going to start trying to angle down here. This is going to be like a high G maneuver. And then we want to start really gaining some velocity now that we're up out of the thick atmosphere. Yeah, see, we're up at a 12G acceleration with this ship. Zero out that FPA. Alright, now we're nearing orbital velocity. We're only a little bit off of orbital velocity from this altitude. I'm going to say it's probably going to be like 7,900 meters per second. See, now we're beyond orbital velocity at this point. But we're going to keep going. 9.4, 9.5, 9.7. Alright, so any more than 10 and I'm starting to worry that I'm not going to be able to maintain my altitude. Because as it stands, I'm already going to have to pull up extreme in order to try to maintain a 0 FPA. So from here, what I want to try to do is, as you can see, my orbit was flinging me out to like 19,000 kilometers altitude. So what I want to do is I want to find a downward turn that will keep my FPA constant at 0. So let's see if I add some trim, if that's going to work. Less trim. So that's working pretty good. Then we just basically hang out here at this extreme velocity and do a hypersonic flight. So we are actually pretty far beyond orbital velocity for this altitude. So if you were in orbit at this altitude, at a stable orbit, you would be beyond, I should say, a circularized orbit. But because we have the air, we can use lift to pull us down against the planet and keep us stuck in that atmosphere, so that even though we're traveling faster than orbit and we should go flinging way out into space, we are not going to escape the atmosphere while we use lift like that. I really have no idea what kind of speed you can expect to maintain. So now we're gaining altitude a little bit. Let me see if I can get more trim on there. And then once we start getting close enough to our destination, we'll just try to dive down a little bit and power turn like we do in a normal re-entry. Oops, I might have goofed up. Yeah, we might actually break this boy. You don't want to space out when you're doing it, huh?
Equipment is set and standing by. Unidentified craft. Skybarge Toledo. Emergency received. All systems are ready and awaiting your arrival.
Oh, I didn't make it. Oh, whoa. Oh, I thought I didn't make it, but then it turned out I thought wrong. That was pretty brave. Pretty ballsy. Reach Sullen. Sullen is on the other side of the planet. So, 133 launch site is 10 kilometers away. Oh, something is right here. That must be the 133 launch site. Wrong button. $700, $800, $900, $1,000. Oh, I forgot to repair my ship. There goes mine A41 and DaCosta. I don't know, but might line up to a perfect opportunity to transfer from Sullen down to one of them two. That would be the coolest. Still got a little ways to go for to think about stuff like that. 200 more kilometers to climb. Oh no. We need to go north a little bit, I think. Well, it looks like I'm behind on my altitude target. Now you see we're fairly high up actually now. You can see the planet is round.
EX5 craft, Station Sullen. Welcome. We've detected your beacon.
That'll put us on 26 for sure. Alright, so Da Costa. It's pretty close. Mine 841's even closer. Do we have Mine 841? Pick up silver. That's at a base. Do we have Mine 841? That's at a base. Oh, I don't think we have any missions over there. We do have a heat pump for a sky barge, but mission isn't gonna get us anywhere. We got a station Montana. Canvas station is all the way on the other side of the Al-Q-Tim is all the way on the other side of the we have nothing. The next closest station isn't going to be until Hayden. Oh. Becca. Well, that's okay. That's an hour episode. Maybe when we log back in, we'll have a better mission available with a more nearby station. That's it for episode 18. 18, I believe. Yep, episode 18. Alright, thank you very much.